In 285 CE, Emperor Carinus ruled with vanity unmatched, obsessed with his reflection more than his empire. He dismissed generals, executed advisors, and humiliated senators for sport. During a campaign in Moesia, rumors spread that Carinus had seduced the wife of his chief officer. The officer, Aurelius Julianus, swore vengeance in silence. When the emperor fell ill after battle, his veins began to swell unnaturally. Physicians opened his arm to release the bad blood, but what poured out was black and bubbling. The smell filled the tent, thick like burning iron and decay. Carinus screamed as steam rose from his wounds. His skin blistered and peeled, as though the blood itself had turned to fire. Soldiers outside whispered that the gods were boiling him alive for his arrogance. His eyes turned white, his tongue black, and blood hissed out of every pore. The physicians fled, leaving him thrashing on the floor. His screams turned into gargled laughter as his body collapsed into a bubbling heap. When the guards entered, nothing remained but bones stuck to the floor. Julianus quietly claimed he had cursed him with poison distilled from quicklime and ash. The army hailed Julianus as savior, but fear spread through the camp. They whispered that no man should kill an emperor by melting his blood. That night, Julianus himself woke screaming, his veins glowing from within. Incident 2. The glass shards of Severus Alexander. In 235 CE, Emperor Severus Alexander tried to rule with mercy, but mercy made him a target. His generals despised his mother's influence, whispering that he was weak. During a campaign in Germania, a mutiny began inside the emperor's own tent. Alexander's mother, Julia Mamaea, begged him to flee, but the emperor refused, saying a Caesar must die standing. When the mutineers broke in, they smashed everything, even the wine jugs. A shattered cup sliced the emperor's hand, blood dripping into the spilled wine. The soldiers laughed and forced him to drink from the blood-stained shards. The glass shredded his throat as he swallowed, blood spurting with each gasp. Julia screamed, her white robes turning crimson as she tried to stop the bleeding. They dragged her away and buried her alive beside him in a trench of broken glass. The mutineers claimed the gods had chosen strength over softness. But every night, men swore they heard glass grinding under their tents. By dawn, one soldier's feet were found sliced open as if he'd walked barefoot on blades. The camp descended into paranoia. No one dared drink wine again, fearing the ghost emperor had cursed it. And so, the empire lost not only a ruler, but its last breath of compassion. Incident 3. The Hanging Feast of Maximinus Thrax. In 238 CE, Maximinus Thrax was a monster of a man, 8 feet tall, strength beyond reason. He crushed men's skulls with bare hands to amuse his officers. When famine struck, he seized food from peasants to feed his army. One night, his men rebelled as he dined in his tent. They tied a rope from the ceiling beam, whispering that a beast should die like an ox. As he stood, one man threw a chain around his throat. The tent poles bent from his weight as he clawed at the cord. His feet kicked dishes and cups into the fire pit. Meat roasted beside his burning face as he thrashed. The soldiers laughed, calling it the emperor's final feast. When his body finally fell, the ground shook with a dull thud. His corpse was so heavy, they had to cut off limbs to move it. They displayed his severed arm outside the camp as a warning. But that night, wolves dragged it away, and screams echoed from the woods. By morning, Thrax led back into the camp, ending beside the cookfire. The soldiers fled, leaving the food untouched. None wanted to dine where the emperor had eaten himself into hell. Incident 4. The Iron Mask of Valentinian II. In 392 CE, Valentinian II was a young emperor caught between generals and priests. His advisor Arbogast controlled every decision, treating him like a puppet. When Valentinian tried to assert his rule, the general warned him to stay silent. The boy emperor began suffering nightmares of being buried alive. On May 15th, he was found dead, hanging from a cord in his room. Officials called it suicide, but the rope was too thick, too deliberate. Rumors spread that Arbogast had smothered him with an iron ceremonial mask. The mask, meant for gladiators, sealed the mouth shut with screws. Valentinian struggled, clawing at the iron, leaving bloody scratches. His breath condensed inside, drowning him in his own panic. When it was removed, his face was pale, shaped permanently into a scream. The mask was hidden, melted down into coins. Yet soldiers claimed those coins whispered when spent. Merchants threw them into rivers, afraid of the curse. No man dared use them again. The empire lost another ruler and gained another ghost. Even in death, the boy still choked on the silence of power. Incident 5: The Fire Within. Death of Jovian. In 364 CE, Emperor Jovian returned from Persia victorious, but cursed by strange fumes from the battlefield. His cloak, soaked in chemicals from burning bitumen, gave off a sharp stench. That night, he slept in a sealed room, windows shut against the winter wind. Within hours, he began choking. Servants found him gasping, skin pale, lips blue. They tried to lift him, but a hiss came from his mouth, as if steam escaped from inside. His skin blistered and smoked without flame. Physicians shouted that the poison gas was igniting inside his lungs. The emperor's body glowed faintly red, like embers beneath flesh. He screamed that he was burning from the inside. Then, with a pop, blood sprayed from his nose and mouth. His corpse smoked for hours, refusing to cool. When soldiers tried to move it, the body was too hot to touch. They sealed the chamber, calling it the Room of Living Fire. Days later, when opened, the floor was blackened, walls scorched. Only his crown remained intact, fused into the stone. Scholars claimed divine punishment. Others whispered alchemy. Either way, the emperor who burned from within left no ashes, only terror.